Well, audience. Today is another fine day that we are going to handle Fathers of Nations, a textbook which is being done by the current Form 2s as a set book novel. Last time I talked about the author and the general information about the text. Now in this video, I'm going to cover the foreword, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So when we read the foreword, which is running from 5 to 6, this is what we find. The foreword shows how in the morning a man is killed by the guards. Then later on, the heads of state skip a closing ceremony that is aimed to crown the summit, and the Gamban News leak that the heads were angry after squabbles over choosing a development strategy from the two, that is Alpha, Path Alpha, and the other which we'll see later. The head of state of Gambia brushes over the news, and though it seems the critics are aware of what is happening. Now the Gambian president blames other presidents who came to the country of being unaware of the democracy that is offered by Gambia. He insists that the summit was a success. What an irony. Now when we move to chapter 1, which I call Arrival and Security Measures, it runs from page 1 to 15. And this is what you'll find. The novel starts after 4 strangers check in at the Samond Hotel in Banjul the same evening. Even though they land in the same hotel, none is aware of the presence of the other because they are given rooms on different wings. The novel presents how these strangers arrive and how they receive stringent instructions about what and how to do. We have Karanja Kimani, a professor in the Institute of Development Studies at Nairobi University, Kenya, and he's the first to check in to the hotel and settle on the 4th floor of the Eastern Wing. He is a man who is aged 60. The second stranger to arrive in the hotel is Ngobile Melusi, a Zimbabwean citizen who does not reveal his occupation, and he checks on the 5th floor of the South Wing. He's a male African with 70 years. Later, there is Pastor Chineke Chamaka, a Nigerian clergyman based at the Lagos branch of Church Inside Africa. He is a 50-year-old man who checks on the 6th floor of the West Wing. The last stranger is an Arab African who is 40 years old, and his name is Tahir. He's a Libyan formerly hired by Tripoli's Ministry of Defense, and he checks in on 3rd floor of the North Wing. Before 1 hour collapses, each stranger receives an anonymous call, a suitcase, and instructions on how to open them. Fiona Mackenzie is another new character brought to us in this chapter. She's a journalist for the Gamban News. She interviews Abiola Afolabi. She reveals that she was adopted by a Scottish couple who were missionaries. That is Ian and Elspeth Mackenzie. She was just a year old. She's quite informed about who Afolabi is, and his strategies in the book Failure of States. Fiona focuses on the forthcoming debate at the Pinnacle Hotel and what Abiola believes will be focal. Abiola informs her, Mackenzie, of the proposed Way Omega that would transform Africa and prevent military coups, rigging of elections, and foul play. He regards the proposal as bearing Nobel laureates' discoveries. He reveals that his invitation by the presidents proves their interest to be assured of how way Omega resonates with his own book, Failure of States. Abiola compares the two books and finds similarity in an all-inclusive involvement in development. Fiona leaves from this place in a hurry because she has just been summoned by the boss back in the office. She believes that Abiola's book is fatalistic and he may not be able to really convince the African presidents about this change that has to be effected. Now, the author reveals the joy of 49 heads of states that are in Banjul. Given that they are now on a trouble-free vacation, they might be quite excited. However, the Gambians experience a lot of hell because of such a meeting. There are such special preparations that have to be made, including clearing of slums and kiosks on the sides of the roads. Remember, that's the livelihood of the people. On arrival, all the heads get to Pinnacle to ease assurance of security for scattered VIPs. There's a lot of fear because these presidents think they might experience things like assassinations, you know. On arrival, all the heads get to the Pinnacle to ease assurance of security, and there is intelligence combat in the hands of Ministry of Defense and that of the internal security. Everything could be safeguarded in such a way. The army brings a lot of soldiers around the Pinnacle's perimeter fence, and they give them instructions on how to ensure that there is no one, you know, invading this place. So that's how much chapter 1 tells us about these strangers, the 4 visitors, the anonymous calls they get, whatever they receive, and special instructions to each one of them. Then Mackenzie, a Gambian journalist working for the Gambian News, coming to interview Abiola Afolabi. And immediately after this, we see her exiting. We are also told about the inconveniences that this summit has brought, because now they have to tear down homes of people who rely on small businesses. They live in slums. Now they no longer have homes. That is the state of Gambia then. I'll move to chapter 2, hoping that you followed me closely while I was going through chapter 1. Chapter 2 is such a short unit that I call Anonymous Commands. It runs from page 16 to 20. Here, the author reverberates on the anonymous call of the 4 strangers. They are both told to reveal what they have in the briefcases. Remember, we got the briefcases in chapter 1. Now here they are being told to reveal what they have to this anonymous caller. And they are told also to familiarize with the books and documents such as Way Omega and Path Alpha, which are the development strategies that should help Africa get out of poverty. After checking the 2 documents, they'll have a role to ensure they convince the heads of states to ratify one of the strategies. It seems that the caller is not only communicating and giving directions to the strangers, but he forewarns them on where to be and how to behave. No wonder I gave the chapter a title, Anonymous Commands. They are not just statements, you know, but they are commands, particularly aiming to stop these strangers from getting where they shouldn't get, and on limiting their boundaries. Bye bye for now. We'll meet again for other chapters. I hope you followed me closely and understand what Fathers of Nations Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 alongside the foreword is all about. Thank you.